我都食死紅啦。
Need to get through the lead and they need to play against that pressure because they don't have a lot of CP. And so T1, they use playmaking to their advantage. Attacking their side with very proactive games. And it's one of those things that T1 do so often is trying to turn kind of the rules of the game on its head. Because normally if you play long you're safe. Try to absorb the blow, maybe you can drop away, make sure that you don't get underneath your turret. But T1 have relied on so many of these types of technical, they are obviously also extremely notorious for their setups when it comes around objectives. And that is where the experience of both Faker as an individual plus the four-man roster comes in because they trust each other blindly. Unless they get wet, which is what Jet
와,
has
싸움
been
싸움.
doing.
야.
That Faker has been alone on stage these last couple of days. Usually they'll take a breather.
나 얻어食死紅㗎。打錯啦，佢走咗就打
He's still dancing!
He is. That's segue though. I'm about to go into the facility not to talk about I will allow that. I will score. I really want to talk about Faker.
冬天嘅內容。
Here's if you capture head to head. Currently at 61 to 61, Emily.
Yeah, the big thing that obviously should stand out to everyone is the 7 international titles, right? Faker is, I mean, he is the undisputed greatest of all time of League of Legends, going up against Chovy, who has been the best performing mid in the LCK across multiple years, has kind of single-handedly forced the rest of the region, much like Faker, to adapt, right? Like, these are two players that every player in the LCK, especially mid laners, has to try to figure out.
Yeah,
If they can.
and I love that their legacy influences one another because more often than not, they find each other at a crossroads at a big tournament. Worlds 2024, of course. Now we're outside once again, Kobe. So it's so cool that we get to see this rivalry in real time.
Yeah, I mean, iron sharpens iron, you know, as they say. You need some good competition to really push you in different areas of the game. And it's kind of interesting, too, because we also have some quotes from Chovy, even some old quotes, but as well some new quotes. But he had that one we already showed previously, where he talked about having Faker figured out, and then the win rate that he had since that time. And yet, still, some of these really big moments eluding really shine through.
How much of this winner percentage did you give up just to win that one match without that word? But they'll set all of it up in functions, real confronted. Because there was only that feeling when it comes to that knockout match with that and that's the third final here in Vancouver that this is where Chovy really gets tested.
And it's such a big thing, especially after what he is the defending champion. Big narrative in the LCK was that once Chovy has done something, he has stuck even as both this summer was only by the base Chovy to step up his game. If you ask Chovy with the interview with Asian Guy, talk about specifically, I watched Faker what he was able to do at game 4 with CLG, I cannot stop thinking about it. And that just speaks to the respect these two players have against each other.
It does. And it does look like what's going to happen today because for me, I Chovy is the best player in the world. Definitely the best mid laner in the world. But
其實入正題啊嘛，終於啊，終於到啦！呢個話耶穌係撒旦嘅，我唔知咩講呢？
Yeah, and I mean, again, we've talked already about how formidable this T1 team is once they get on an international stage, once they are able to adapt. I think their improvement across this tournament is much better, for example, than what we saw from them at last year's MSI, where they were like struggling a bit. I never know how to take these, especially since both teams were going like, no, like you already mentioned. But that AL T1 series was insanely close, right? And so I think they will be very prepared for T1, given how well these two teams know each other.
Yeah, and I think that quote from Shogi about AL and expecting them to be here just really speaks to his respect for that team being real, because we saw how good AL were and how well they performed and the amount of respect that he had for Shanks.
I'm getting conflicting info here, right? Because we have the I figured Faker out quote into losing in the semifinals at the World Championship last year, into well, I expected AL because I didn't really rate T1, into oh no, this isn't going to be a problem. I don't know, Maurice, it might be a problem.
I think it might be, and that is why today's series is, even if we hadn't had the 5-game series that we had already between these two, I think the best game 5 that we've had between the two as well, coming down to some amazing team fighting. It is, again, the expectation that for Duro, this is his first international final. For Doran, it's his first international final. And those might end up mattering a lot, right? Depending on what the players show today.
For me, I want to take a short detour to the bot lane, right? Because if we look at that game 5, that clutch Dragon Steel actually ended up mattering so much in that game with the scaling Jinx that they had. Ruler on one of his signature champions. And he and Gumayushi have had such an interesting rivalry going across multiple teams for Ruler.
Oh, I'm going to give you space to talk about it if you want.
No, I was just going to say, like, the way that these two teams can each play around their bot lane, and also kind of the adversity that they both overcame just to split, like everyone was just like, oh man, Ruler lost, he's not looking so hot since he came back to Genji, I don't know. Guma with all the swaps that were going around, and he split once. Both of them overcoming that, showing up at this tournament, and I think both bot laners have been performing absolutely stellarly.
Because, as highlighted, obviously there's always when the 6-man roster comes in, like, there's a lot of friction, there's a lot of that. But I do think that Duma also just straight up didn't do as nearly as good as he has basically starting since the end of spring. Wait, that's all. No, I already did a lower second. I don't need to get back to in a second. But what I do think is, without question after this, as we go back to particularly 2023 where Duma did by the way, start ruling, we all remember one of those games we see over time. The fact that Duma steps up when it's needed most is something that he is going to need today. Because coming in, to the tournament, everyone's ready to Duma as a ruler. I can no longer for the rest of him. The ruler's performance has really been that time to close your way.
We'll see if they let it here through though, because then he might have some nightmares and some flashbacks. Talk about Ruler versus Guba, also Ruler versus Faker.
我都冇得食啦，我要4-7嚟加3隻，4隻。快啦而家，唔得意啦我哋都。試喎呢度。 少咯，咪差唔多差。
all these
我
matchups
我
right
就
now
係
are
啊，
super high level, and I think they could go either way. There's just one question that this could be the X factor for T1. So we talk so much about Carrier, and when you talk about Carrier, it's not just about his creativity in his abilities, in his champion. It's also about stealing objectives with unsealed development.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Into that top lane. And that's for me just to
阿 B 翻嚟啦，
sometimes spend so much time really trying to win that 2v2, right? And for me, it definitely starts with area and just how chaotic it can be on top.
And for Durham, he has had such a meteoric rise in his consistency. Coming into the year, he only won one of the greatest organizations in the world has been running amok both of these internationally. But his development curve is so fast, and I think his consistency is the thing that really blows me away.
Absolutely, the signs have been insane. Here on the side, but I want to check in with how the fans have voted at Master Party 2. They are calling the match for drumroll T1 with 63% of the vote. They always win the fan vote for the side. The best track record so far is like every day on Master Party 2. And Rob, your prediction is awesome.
二仔花，仲有。
I've seen enough, and I know they played them and they lost in that game, but I don't think they lose a game twice in a row. That's
哇！屌你！哇！第四個炸喎！哇！
These are two teams that know each other well. I'm expecting the series to go kind of similarly. Like I'm expecting this to go to 5 games. I still do think that Genji become MSI champions once again. And also, if they really, really buckle down, I think they have more ability to pick it up.
Well, I like where both of your heads are at with the 4 5, because we've already had the most 4-5 game series ever for an international, and I woke up today thinking about the data, right? You've got 22 series streak for Genji waiting in the upper bracket. They have Chovy, the best player right now that has a whole church dedicated to his glory. This team seems unstoppable, frankly. And that's when you have to think about team
我都聽到啊，後尾後尾聽到啊，我後尾先聽到，真冇聽。翻啲樓梯都冇
pretty sure I'm getting blue. I'm gonna explain this as fast as I can. To me, was something bleeding out in the first place. But I do think, looking at that game 4, that should have been a Genji 3-1 victory. I also think that we still haven't truly seen the show up at the end of the stage. I think to end the tournament, he is going to be here today. And if that man shows up at the arena, I don't think that even the good can stop him, because Chovy has been incredible. I've had to watch this man do magical things, and I think it's going to happen again every day.
But I can't accept that we don't do 5 games because we need to here to close out our night. We absolutely do. I love it.
個樓梯啊，所以細屎咗啊！
You best not miss. Can Genji do it and secure their second consecutive MSI? Or can T1 win their third? The last time was 8 years ago. Genji versus T1 and the opening ceremony presented by MasterCard.
OK，而家藍圈。 開心喎，自責工作緊㗎嘛。呀，我唔買啊！做咩拜煙啊？幫我講嗰個人出去啊！有人有散啊，多啲水佢開落去。食炸糊啊！你推啊！你咩？我推咩？我可以推你㗎，冇推我啦。
일단 작년에는 무대에서 절대 직접 같지 않다는 생각이 들고 국제전에서 승리했을 때 증명했다는 생각이 들었습니다.
T1 다시 올라와도 우승은 어려울 겁니다.
저희가 3년 전에 MSI 우승을 3대2로 코앞에서 놓쳤기 때문에 이번에 찾아온 기회를 놓치고 싶지 않고 꼭 우승하고 싶습니다. 물론 선수보다 제가 나은 점 하나는 대답하기 좀 어려운데 하나는 아닌 것 같습니다. 골든 로드를 희망했습니다. 저에게 돌아온 건 행진뿐이었습니다. 2024년 시도는 아직 난가를 들기에는 부족했던 것 같습니다. 2025년 전쟁은 이번 MSI에서도 작년과 같이 이 이야기를 승리로 마무리 짓겠습니다. 승리를 향하는 길은 언제나
小三元字母啊！
저희가 떠났습니다.
咁樣都大牌嘅你哋。
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back one last time to the arena here in Beijing for MSI 2025 between Genji and T1.
小三元幾多啊？上面
Flowers joined by Adele and Phineas here today as we
Wow,
walk to
Lisa.
Korean Titans for supremacy.
哇乜嘢啊？3蚊咋？送乜到？
Waste any time, straight into the draft. Nico and Thea will
Yo,
move on to
why
Genji.
not?
The best team of the outside we've been seeing. Later and later into this tournament remains the same. Five will join alongside it. I wonder what the priority will be. Whether it's going to be
搞到啊！有冇53？有冇51？死水啊！歐陽，梗係咁啦，唔會放過你啊！記得收翻我過嚟一陣。
Locking in the playmaker. Jonathan so early in the series is a bit of a surprise. Normally we see this come out much later when many other champions have been backed away. I expected a jungle response, but Genji want to remove both the Lucian and the Braum from the pool early, and this is an effective bot lane pattern.
Yeah, it makes it really interesting here because now there are some different options for T1. Because we didn't see, the early jungle pick here, you can really start to target the jungle pairings very heavily. Taliyah does want setup. We don't have point and click CC here from the bot lane, from the Braum. It has been incredibly successful for Baker with all the iconic here in the game. One get close to the flash, and this might just be
Very distinct in terms of the roles we're seeing in the first half of the draft here, though. Yes, mid lane dragged up for both sides, but then the bottom lane duo slammed so fast for Genji, they knew they wanted this Lucian ball.
And I just think that we're going to see T1 continue to attack Xin and more AD jungle pairings, right? Because that is what I'm going to be looking for, really limiting what Canyon can go towards.
With the Poppy and Lee Sin, I think can be very effective matchups here. The question is, for Genji, they can remove things like the Rakan. Zion Rakan is a tried and true T1 favorite on the bot side of the map. I wonder if they do consider Rakan to be that problematic. Still something else higher on the priority list.
And Jovi, not only is he incredible at all but specifically he is 20 and 30 all time on this pick. So this has been synonymous with his success. Really better he's such an excellent player. Watch him to get pushed on the champion, affect the map, which is really what you want him to do.
The challenge is Jovi is fighting the champion, but he doesn't have a ball to bring right now. Alternatively, it's fear. It's also like very good job and it's also fantastic material.
It's really interesting, right? Because you can totally see the thought process here. You're saying, okay, we're going to limit all of the engaged tools from jungle as far as physical damage junglers. You didn't go for a hard engage from the support, and the good engaged champions in top lane are things like the Ornn, which Gwen already has a really good matchup in. So they are trying to here and force some bad matchups. But it is okay to still go Ornn and go down on CS against the Gwen and still have that value in a team fight. So I wouldn't be shocked to see something like that still.
I really think we're looking at the Bard game one. Locking in the Jhin. Apparently he's done a couple of times from Gumayushi and Carrier. Guma's Jhin is something that he's super comfortable on. He's put out multiple times in international competition. It seems though the Cannon's gone more of the defensive route, and we're going to get the Sejuani Jax. I mean, a very common combo that works very nicely together. Jax synergizes with the passive from the Sejuani and can match up into the Gwen very effectively too.
A lot of pressure here on Canyon as the main engage for the side of Gen G. If you can find picks or flags with the solo layers, there's success opportunities there. But that Sejuani really is the go button for the team. Final pick in his first draft will be Alistar here for Carrier to play the Jhin against that Lucian Braum bottom lane. Isaac, I'll go to you first. We see all 10 picks for the first game here for a rematch of the upper bracket finals. Which side has the edge?
Honestly, I think I like what Gen G have more. You know, I do think Chovy playing the Taliyah, being able to get the push in this matchup, and then you have such a strength in the top lane with Keen on the Jax, handling him. That combo is incredibly powerful. Braum has been so successful at actually shutting down the hard engage that I think he was trying to draft for. So I do have to take what Gen G has.
Very much agree. I feel like the Braum is great to the Alistar. See how top lane with a little bit more engaged to work alongside the Jarvan. I think the Jhin synergizes nicely with a lot of work. But
It did go the distance as they traded throws back and forth. And now we get one last dance to see who truly is.
We saw him recently. We've seen it play so many times in the LCK for the last
Đâu rồi cả.
in the international finals. 2016 at SKT1 and Samsung Galaxy. Faker and Ruler are still on their respective teams in their respective levels. It is crazy to see the difference.
Wow, sáng
Rules on your screen right now. Full support starting off with that summoner spell block. It's been very close. Opportunity show up from the timing of these smite steals, teleport plays, all sorts of clever gambits from the support system.
Even just in the series yesterday, tracking the usage of smite in a fight and going in and being able to steal this. This is the all-time head-to-head between these two teams by year. So as you see, we're going through 2016. Look how one-sided it was to SKT1 at that time. But in the more modern era, this becomes more and more even overall.
Ôi, nó lên nó sẽ dắt ở trên led tôi dắt mà là mấy món đồ sản xuất ở những cái sản xuất cái sản xuất
And these days,
cái sản xuất cái sản mà bây giờ nó rồi cái sản bây giờ lại cái sản mà cái nó ăn dắt mà
when things go outside the field.
And it should be beautiful to see the NSI champions face off against the reigning world champions.
Exactly. I mean, it's just so much story between these two teams. You know, last time, as you say, they were in finals. More recent, but last time they actually won on this. It was back on Booty roster in 2017.
Gumayushi taking the worst end of the trade down here. That Lucian Braum, I commented how quickly this was locked in back in the draft. Gen G really had a plan for the bottom lane in this game.
And Juro hasn't even used his heal. Like, you see how much lower Guma is on health. That's with Carrier spending his heal. Guma does have distance to whip out the additional Biscuit at the top there to try to regen some health, but the early trading goes so heavily towards Rui Duro. And this matchup can be quite tough for Gwen as the game goes on. So if you do get behind early, it's going to be very problematic for Gwen. Definitely upscale to this game, especially with the guy because of how you expect Jets
Also in the mid lane, Faker being pushed underneath this tower against the wave that the Taylor is going to have. Keen just playing the matchup really good, chipping away Porente through. I imagine that Owner is going to be forced to go to the bot side line for one to make himself a push down there as well in favor of Genji. And you can always get the very good. He really wants to get the play. Because if you can be very vulnerable in the ball lane without the fight. He's very strong in the ball lane, so he's able to do two. And those are control over all of your taking the gun trap like we saw with Canyon up here in the top side river. Makes it easy for can easily shadow and respond to a nice seismic shove there from Chobi's 20-3 Palia. We want to see this pick have that shove early, have that presence in the lane, and then after he unlocks the ult, be effective with the Weaver's walls, make the plays happen. When we saw these teams go head-to-head in the upper bracket final, game number one, the first kill, the first big fight didn't really happen until the Void Grubs had spawned. And I wouldn't be super surprised to see a similar stage through the finals. Super focused, use the stage really just analyze the environment. Every time it's so much experience. They still got to do
Ignited their drive, but to make sure that he tries it as aggressively as possible on his game. He does not let any flash. He wants to play with that gun, to build advantages in the lane, and make sure that he doesn't fall behind this matchup like we were talking about earlier. It can get so scary if you do.
Really can, but great job there by Duro. Is able to hold the wave fully. And you can see now, trying to actually chase down, forces the flash there. Carry could not get the wave to crash. Really is going to go back down towards bot. He's not actually going to go for a lane swap. So this is going to lead Ruler, who is going to get a little bit ahead as far as the experience, a little bit ahead as far as the CS. So nice small play there from Duro. There's that small advantage for them on that bot side.
Ruler just making sure he does the minimal amount of damage that he needs to keep all these minions alive, make sure this wave state stays frozen right where it is for as long as it can be, while his support takes his recall, and you can see both supports heading back out of their bases at the same time right now, as Karen's package is more directly back towards bottom lane. You can see Duro was walking more between bottom and mid, seeing if he needed to respond to somewhere else, as Canyon shows up here in the top side river, but there is a controller from T1 in the Pixel Brush.
Yeah, and Canyon could obviously tell it. As soon as he got within range of that Pixel Brush, immediately Doran turned around, so Canyon said, alright, okay, he spotted him, not actually going to bother going for it. Didn't have eyes on where Owner could be, so of course you don't know if that's a ward or if Owner is just in that brush and it could be a jump.
You can see the lead that Keen's been able to build up in the numbers as well. He's already got this first hand. He's a level 10.
Yeah, Keen with a level 6 coming after Doran, takes him down to 250 HP. The Jax with nearly a kill's worth of gold, built up just from his farm lead, from his pressure early on, has Duro and Ruler want to go aggro in the 2v2 bottom side, but it doesn't turn into a whole lot of anything. Both these supports very good at playing defensively, as you can see Duro with the Summoner Spellbook swap, going over the Ghost there quickly on the Alistar, but it's Genji with their pushing hit, with their pushing bot, going after the Drake. T1 jungler up in the top side, shadowing here, making sure that there's no opportunity for Keen to take out Doran. 52-35 in farm. Doran will be able to equalize some of that, but because Owner was drawn up to the top side to protect Doran, that means Canyon secures the first Drake stick free for Genji.
Genji are leveraging the strength of their laners. We talked about it in the draft, but their ability to get pushed pretty much across the map, to respond well to what T1 have brought out in terms of what they brought into game one. And that Alistar Lance pick is it's difficult to contest those ways into the face of a Braum. Another way is going to be
He's been very good at enforcing that in this event. So it's kind of good number in the final, especially when he's the first in the national final. You know he's going to be doing that. A lot of eyes can be on Doran and how he can perform against Keane, who I think has been the best on the backhand side. And has been using
Doran has been getting so much credit in terms of teams being able to qualify for this tournament. He had a standout performance. In particular, we all think very fondly of his Gragas, the champion that he did bring out in their game 5 yesterday as well. And so far, yes, in the matchup, he is struggling, but you're completely right. As our eyes will be on him to see how he impacts this game as on the opposite side, it's Tio, his first time. He is looking to incredible action.
Gen G will move in, they will take control of the pit, they will secure the third blow, a 2-to-1 Grub count, favoring Gen G. They'll come out on top in the objective scratch, as neither team wants to open it.
As soon as Kerry locked that onto your lead, he knew it was going to be trouble. Keane left the back off here.
Now Keane trying to get away from it. The Ignite is used with the final volley of Needlework. Keane dropped down to 100 HP, but it's 100 more than Doran would like. Keane still has his ulti available. Teleport to return into the lane immediately thereafter as well.
And this is what they do because of that 2 or 3 goals. They do get credit towards the objective feat there. They're all 2 out of 3 on. That's the first dragon. They're about 2 or 3 goals. They only need 1 more to complete the objective feat.
That's what he's totally playing against both on this Oriana. Particularly, you'll notice that when he's facing off against Faker directly, he looks towards the direction of the ball. And he kind of hopes that Faker will overshoot his Q, which means the W then ends up missing. It's given him a couple of HP trades going in his favor. The farmer is still ever so slightly in favor of Faker. He does have a small goal lead, but right now this early game is very, very close. Very much what we expected here in game 1.
Exactly. Minute leads one way or the other in most places. The biggest one, still the difference between the farm and top laner. Keane, more than a couple of waves ahead compared to Doran here on this Gwen. And again, I want to remind everyone, there is no flash on the T1 top laner. It means it's even more dangerous, not just in the context of the 1v1 against the Jacks in the side lanes, but participation in the team fights. If you go in, if you mistime the Hallowed Mist, if you don't go at the right timing or angle, there's no way out.
The Ignite is almost always worse in a 5v5 than having Flash. It can be really powerful in that 1v1, but like you say, sometimes even if you do go in at that right moment, if you just get denied, by some sort of CC, it can be difficult to actually close the gap onto some of these carries. Especially Ruler here, who is going to have Duro kind of glued to his side. You have to expect in a lot of the fights, and that is going to be the primary target that T1 are wanting to look for.
A very slow opening 11 minutes of game number 1 here in the finals. Remember, game number 3 in the upper bracket finals, we had to wait more than 20 minutes to get our first round. Hopefully, won't be the same story here in this one, but in general, gentlemen, I would have to say that the slower game state often favors Gen G. When the scraps happen earlier, when they happen more often, T1 seems to be more in their element. But when Gen G can slow the game down, they seem to be very good.
The slower the game, the higher the and really turn into a game that this I think is very, very simple, but this is incredibly good on this ball. If T1 wants to come on this next the TP vector can go on. Not going to have that TP available over there. So I think has to the ward and they can get the push to me. So here's the teleported back to shield 1 turn and leaves himself. And that vision is being taken over by Owner and Carrier. In this bot side river, Canyon and Ruler have the opportunity to step up and try to clear some of their way. Defensive trap line laid down by giving you
Yushi's Jin as well. If Gen G can get a step further into the T1 jungle, or another control ward shot out by Gumi Yushi, but Gen not particularly adept at dealing with those control wards. As Gen G, once again, in control of the river for now. Important to note, neither one of the top laners has teleport, but Keens will come off of cooldown here in about a minute. Canyon fake checking into the brush. Honoring carrier, find him. Baker in tow. Gen G with a 4-man attempt starting up the Drake already. Canyon's going to be the one to tank it. Duro and Chovy to their defensive position off to the side. Carrier steps forward immediately, probably unbreakable will as Gumi Yushi wants to find a deadly flourish at the wall. Carrier, half HP, unbreakable will down. Gen G still in control of the objective. Owner ready to challenge. Gen G still trying to maintain control here. Gumi Yushi off to the side. Can open up with a curtain call if he needs. Deadly flourish, not going to find a target. Weaver's walking away. Beautiful engage, get out there. From Baker, shot. The ocean train comes on Gen G, but they've already lost a man. Support for support. As Roller's knocked down. T1 with a 2-for-1.
Beautiful engage there. T1 had their eyes on the fight, and it was a difficult one to execute on because Gumi Yushi is on the side, split from the team the whole time. And you're thinking, how can they actually navigate this fight as a result? But it got an early chunk of the Chovy, and as Chovy went to the side to throw down the Weaver's wall to create a dragon, T1 to find the angle to actually go for the fight. And it was a beautiful engage there by Owner. Great follow-up for Faker.
Keep your eyes on the Orianna board. When the smite does come through, the shockwave connects on the 2. And the positioning of Gumi Yushi also contributing with the ultimate on the flank. Carrier actually ends up dropping first, but T1 is quick to respond with 2 kills of their own.
Exactly, and you saw what I was talking about. As soon as they see Chovy is not riding in the wall, they know he's going to be late to the fight. So that is why there's the instantaneous engage. They see the angle from which it comes. They know Chovy cannot participate in the immediate control of that fight. As a result, the HP bars on Gen G were too low by the time Chovy got there to do anything.
So the trend then is Gen G, they get the second Drake. 2-0 on that step now. They secure the feat of neutral objectives like we were talking about earlier, but that very slight goal lead that we've been talking about so far does swing in the other direction now. About plus 500 on the side of Team 1. Team wants to get a little bit of damage here, but Owner stays good time to prevent the demolish plot onto the pro in top lane.
And you see T1 waiting for the fight because they know that if Chovy gets first strike, that is the trick going to go away. I think really intended big only one kill off of the Warfare, and we will be looking for that first hit.
Exactly. Chovy's teleport still a few seconds critically off of that cooldown. Weaver's wall came up, but it can't reach from all the way down in the bottom lane. So T1 with the timing, with the control, will seize the neutral objective.
But notice, Gen G is pushing on this bottom side. They're looking for first power there. And they're just going to try to rush this down because they know if Herald is summoned, they'll likely lose a tower of their own, but they don't have another minion wave here. And T1 is going to try to rush for it. Both teams really trying to defend this hard.
T1, they've got the positioning over the wall with carry as well. Duro with a TPM, the first turret, already goes the way of T1. Kill will do the same. They build a great charge. T1 is well over. The turret, the kill, and the tier 2 follow. T1 take everything in mid lane.
A misstep from Duro as he tries to defend the mid tier 1. If he can just slow T1 down, there's an opportunity. But now Chovy's making a play of his own.
Chovy wants to get something back here on the top side. Weaver's wall fires out. Remember, there's no flash for the Gwen to take it away. The unraveled earth flies out, and Dora goes down. Chovy gets his kill.
Yeah, Dora goes down swing, couldn't quite finish off key. He didn't have to skip his flash to get over the wall there. Owner was trying to sneak into the brush, would have been worded out regardless. The good play from Chovy, getting something back to the top side there with key. That TP from Duro definitely hurt them because not only then do you lose the power, you also lose that third kill over to T1, which means they get the feat of strength, they get the upgraded boots. And T1 in a good spot now here early on in game 1.
I know it's only a single kill, but I think it is a great demonstration of the evolution of Chovy as a player. Recognizing the development he's needed to make as an individual, becoming a really vocal player as part of this team. You can see that constantly looking to be proactive on the map, constantly looking to trade objectives where they can, and constantly trying to make things happen for his team. They are currently ahead in Dragons, 35 until the third one of the game will start. And moving towards the top side of the map, wants to grab
T1 manages to seize the beats of strength here. I've always wanted the enchanted boots higher in a composition where the carries in particular do not have mobility built into the kit. Jin can only run, Orianna can only run. Having the extra move speed could be the difference between being caught or getting away in a critical fight. Still the gold, not even 1,000 apart. That ocean drink you mentioned that is spawning now, as we can see everyone congregating around this bottom side. Range for Weaver's wall. Jordan's on the other side of the map because he has his teleport ready to join.
I'm saying so much better for Gen G. They're only going to pick up the jungle. The shockwave comes through. The damage isn't quite enough to take out Canyon. He's got to flash away to safety, and then the counter attack from Gen G.
Exactly, just track down flashes being used here. Canyon early flash, then Duro flashes to follow. Faker has the flash inside Big Shove. This is now back to the earlier play on this Night Secure. This is previous to the replay that we were just watching. You can see the dragon was getting low. Chovy on the side was being zoned out there by Doran. And Tyria goes in, lands some CC here onto Canyon, down to 890, nails the smite.
You can see it went from 2,000 down to 890, so it was just the fact that Smite came slightly earlier from Canyon. The timing goes to Owner. The 50-50 favoring T1 is huge because that would have been full point for Gen G. That would have been a mandatory dragon fight for T1 for the rest of the game. It is now not the case. Gen G, however, trying to get teleported in, and it's another fight. This time for the outside. Gen G putting some damage into it. No technique for being dying quick. There's no TP for Blackwood. T1 has to
Now watch Owner here. The side pick shot for Chovy is going to deny his entrance into the fight. When he goes for the
fighting back gets flipped back so that it stops his power. Remember, he had those back from the previous play. 5 good shots, here's then the icon. That's beautifully done. Gumayushi coming on the side here is going to try to get the damage down on his shoulders, and he is being zoned out. Doran is going in, and the fight becomes very chaotic because Faker is over here at really low HP, but he's going to stay around because he still has his shockwave. So as Gen G group up here on the chase, with really low health to set up, and this fight just becomes chaos.
Faker's Oriana Shockwaves, one of the most iconic champions for him, as one of the most, as the most iconic player in League of Legends, showing his skill here in game number 1, and you can see after that last fight, Gumayushi 650.
And it's crazy to me because I still think of Gumayushi as a new player, but he is such an international veteran because every time T1 shows up to a tournament, it feels like they're winning or they're at least in the finals. They have deep run after deep run, and Guma has been so stalwart for this team, has been incredible ever since his debut.
And it was a very controversial split, but Guma, he really has shown up throughout spring and here at MSI in particular. He currently remains deathless alongside his carry in the mid lane, Faker. Dragon, 10 seconds. Genji will not have the easy fight. Attack will fall. Doran struggles to do it by T1. 4 powers to 2.
T1 with more control of the map. The goal being favoring them by a little bit shot of 2,000. Gen G trying to fight for control of the mid lane push, but it is T1, like you mentioned, Azale. It has control of the river. Canadian wants to step up. T1 worked them down to half HP. Gen G, their junglers falling from Roller, a big win. An important tool there no longer available as Gen G split up and retreat. T1 maintained their control the entire time. Objective. And it looks like the rest of T1 are now ready to walk over Gen G. They used too many resources. Canyon got chunked, but they still might think about it. Tora's gonna run interference. The Dragon's on the Keen wants to go in and show his fire. Keen running all alone. He's on the Keen just died. Gen G.
殺咗李大哥捲死嗰隻假黑絲，哇！牙俊第四飛啊！深我以為係中七啊，插到入盡一盡射晒入去啊！係4飛中晒㗎。哇！前日真係撚狗㗎喎，天溫係大前日。冇撚得，謝華同你講，一定係撐撚到尾㗎啦。不過落後先，係咪先？領先要繼續嗌啊！
Team synced up with his team. Shogi was on a solo mission on the side. He went in so early. Ruler had no calling. No one was really any meaningful damage to T1 members.
Right, you look at Gen G, you see a team that is fine, playing patient, waiting for their moment, and it's striking. This time, the moment it already has, they have no control over the track of what they're playing, and in the flies out.
係因為我俾使錢佢，所以我呢條俾晒佢。
我冇 spin 呢啲嘢㗎。啊！啲最尾係我見。字幕有3個。
我掙扎咗好耐，碰唔碰九筒？我唔碰九筒，我自己入到7筒或者7筒或者7筒。唔係啊，我只要入到7筒或者7筒，我就要雙食力。係啊，我見到都幾撚靚㗎。屌，所以掙扎咗好耐，碰唔碰？
咁樣啦，食咗碗咪得啦。
唔想嘥條啊！我未食夠啦。
而家係西定白？唔緊要啊，大家好好享受呢一場比賽先。
係啊，而家係 T1 lead 緊嘅，係啦，贏4。
哇！我好似買咗 First One， 定唔知買咗去贏第一場。First One 係 Gen G 嚟，佢賺1萬。我揾咗佢一定做翻做垃圾。
Obviously, 5 kills, 30 seconds, really wanted for the target. He had some early
咩事啫？快啊！佢哋咧。
In this game, always a risky purchase, but if you stay desperate, it is going to pay dividends for you.
係深度分析嚟嘅喎，成仔要快啲落嚟坐埋一齊討論啊喂！
only slightly behind him.
聽唔到佢講咩？
佢話就快啦，冷靜，跟我一齊跪，逼啊，逼啊，係啦，好嘢好啦。
Rulers on 3 items and 3 very powerful ones. So pressure on Ruler to
啱啱好咯，夾緊度啊，唔夾啊！
So he's on 3 items.
我睇到點樣收嘢出嚟啊！定。不如企身睇。哇！屌你喺呢個位度硬射，撲街！今次含撚啊！
A slight misstep from Faker allows for Chogi
俾人 come back 咗啊！
opportunity, knocking back the opposing mid laner and setting up for a great
俾人 come back 咗啊！
They
我唔係
hold
焦，
they get a hit.
我係
Chogi saying they are not out of this game just yet.
Yeah, that is massive. And not only do they get bigger spots, this seismic shot there, he tries to size it as a little bit too late. Is able to go golden though, does survive. Can't trade out his own seekers. But in the extending fight here, Carriot is blocking out so much of this damage here. He steps forward, tanks the culling, tries to keep his carry safe. But as they come in here, Carriot basically has to go back in to try to peel for Faker and ends up giving his life.
I mean, that ultimate from Chogi was just fantastic. The way that he cut off the team for T1 made the fight very awkward. Kuma especially very isolated. Wants to use the connect. And as you highlighted, Azale, that flash now gone for Faker will be a prime target for Gen G.
All right, another stare down, another showdown for another Drake. Both teams tied at 2-2. But look at the shades of Drake claimed by either side. The first two from Gen G, but both Ocean Drakes since then claimed by T1. They've had the control as the game has gone on. Gen G though has been through the ball. T1 ready to
Holy
start. You can see Keen trying to pick up the red buff, the team-wide red buff for Gen G before this fight starts. Doran is coming around on the flank. Keen might just see him here, depending on if Doran gets to skip a flash on the wall.
哇！都係我鳩啦。
Immediately sees
Okay,
it,
走
but
咗。
Doran only loses about 1/3 HP. The Drake has been aggro, pulled, but it's too far down. The patience will be lost, and it resets back towards its home.
Yeah,
Before it can be taken long.
He's gonna TV back. He just went back to base here. He already had the seekers. He's ready to go push his forward.
Okay, Dragon half HP.
哇！搞啊！佢呢招大。哦！
喂，原來隨時想戒到唔使咁喎，輸架底唔使食炸。
喂，屌撚住 ，Faker！OK，嗱，暫時狀況俾人反西啊！閃！屌！哇！一槍巴落去，知道？而家仲幾張？你食我紅包我一齊拍啦，電梯唔好睇㗎啦，好晒啦條，唔使諗啦。咁咩？唔使撐你大哥撐到咁啊！右殺。
T1 is just playing these fights better.
Keen is constantly
屌，我
looking
想
for
講
these fights, but he's
嗰
taking
啲
a
主
little bit
持
too
啊、
long.
旁述嗰啲先係最燈喎，真係即係一有
T1
T1 人就
just
鏟
patiently
T1
play around this Jax.
即係我
Toby is doing absolutely everything that he can, and I think that if Genji played a little bit more on the front line start, they would have more options, but T1's target selection is good, they're in a great position, and now they're looking to try and close out game one.
It's in a tough situation here for Keen. He had used his Seeker's Arm Guard so long ago in that base defense, but he's gotten no gold since then. So he's still just stuck on that Seeker's Arm Guard with no progress towards the Zonias, whereas Faker has finished his Zonias, Owner has finished his GA, Doran has finished his Zonias, and Faker now has 22 stacks on the Magi's here. T1 have all of the luxury items that they will need to try to close this one out.
And I want to go back to the lane phase when we saw Keen winning the early trades, winning the early farm, when we were talking about how this can be very difficult to play the Gwen, especially without a flash.
咁靜雞雞嘅，邊個話食完嘢冇嘢攞啊？點解佢突然間變咗條巴落嘅？
Exactly what he needed to do. You saw the end of team fight damage chart, dealing 5,000 damage to the Gwen, down to 1,500 of Keen's Jax. T1 sets up for a siege. Teleports on in as Jody's ready to join. Genji, T1 not slowing down, ready for the next minion wave to crash, while Doran chants the wave over in mid at the same time. Canyon throws
Faker 俾人 trap 住咗，
There's no follow-up.
所有之類，
T1 fires back. And Genji
加埋粒撚住我。
Owner puts Joby in the cataclysm, but he has to get back from it.
Faker 而家硬 A 隻豬女唔夠 A， 哇！一招 Q double 啦，冇撚咗2/3。 喂，gel 得 gel 得。
The Nexus turrets are under fire. Ruler's calling. Very little efficacy. The
混大四喎，
enchanted cannon minion. Genji
好
scrambles.
似好撚多嘢砌喎，你要買喎呢
Continue to push. A ton of damage.
個。慢慢嚟，我睇住現場先。
Genji are not holding.
而家 T1 5隻鷹袋嘅團戰，
好似未喎。
係啊贏啦，咁樣都輸，死晒咯喎！
What an impressive performance in game one from
Somehow.
T1. They navigate the fights beautifully. Their target selection is exceptional. And they take the game. And they take the advantage in this series.
Absolute signature performance from the Faker Oriana. Putting into question who is the best player today. Might just be Faker. What do you think?
還好還好，59都唔夠大。
Once again, but we're not gonna call it here, so so strong. We do have to talk about how good not necessarily easy execution in team fights around those objectives.
He finds a shockwave.
到家我係咪買咗啲人第一場，唔係買 first blood 啊？
So after MSI Fireworks,
應該係買緊錯咗。
one-offs that have turned around the whole game, right? I'm thinking back to Ruler's Dragon Steel, for instance, but also this where he gets extreme percentage of the shockwave, and it actually influences so much.
To me, the game was twofold. On the one hand, Genji really wasn't able to deal with the upgrade level of T1.
對同性人票啦，
In particular, the way that T1 was setting up the team fights, these multi-tiered engages was something that previously we saw AL do a lot. I also think I was surprised by
我贏我一望，我放完嗰個60係有得睇到
in that game,
哇！
really just got the Jax.
大搞啊！
係啊，如果我插錯做俾佢啦。
係啊，對方。
Playing it slow, but they could go live over the top. T1 get these big mid and two towers with the arrow. So
我冇撚仔喎，衰喎，應該係啊。如果你係咁樣，你都抵你啦。我真係覺得你都做得啦喎。 喺呢度，我記得當年係2016年 NBA 總決賽，你老母3-0俾人送出局啊！唔係收咗隊，唔係出幾次。佢哋真係想我係好撚記得，因為我哋係中一齊買晒啲喺嗰度睇。嗰陣時就係逼搞隻加利奧1打9啊嘛，嗰陣時係咁啊。
喂，長時有人輸波嚟啊！
呢個係
佢輸幾多碼真係輸幾多碼啊！呢啲真係輸人
佢哋話黑色㗎喎，已經簡單。我係 check 嗱，所以而家以後大家都話唔信㗎。我哋應該好似 LL 嗰啲整曬10條嚟嘅，應該我唔係啊，下次係射上電腦度，跟住電腦即刻 update 每個人數字，冇得講大話，屌你！係啊，佢上啲打到佢輸咗一
This is really concerning for me and for Gen Z
唔係啊，而家隨成係樂觀小子啊，所以佢而家係一個好係小子。
to see this
一見到阿叻阿 V 啊，
trying to go in
成個人開心
成日
咗。
贏嘅咩？今日仲唔打制裁佢嚟講？你成日話咩？快啲入主題啊！制裁佢！
T1 and Gen G left the international finals because for the newer viewers, Samsung didn't come. Gen G and Ruler and Faker were both there.
And even though Ruler left, the fact that Genji, as soon as it was clear he was coming back to the LCK, immediately went back to this team. These two players, as they landed, they were just still on the team, which in itself is impressive, but they're still performing top tier. We're in the final.
They are, and somehow Faker's insane to see. Hopefully we get a lot of games between these two teams, but there's an MSI finals to upgrade your browser. OpenGX is handing out limited drops just for watching. Official champion teams can receive your browser and you can watch MSI without tapping out.
呢個節奏係佢幾時變就代表我哋幾時。
And yeah, the upgrade to the gaming browser. Download Opera GX, and we're gonna go to a quick break so you can do that right now.
冇啊，我哋嗰個有隻啊。開心咋？一落嚟即刻食喎，大喎，七就大啦，七就嚟啊，七就大，但係都睇下夠啦，即係已經夠啦，差唔多。哇！有7000，唔係，原來係開咗70幾分鐘。我以為有7000嘅人睇佢連個7裝咁撚癲。啱啱跟住揾聽見電話。
你而家輸幾多啊？600到啦。啱啱佢話你食炸糊喎。唔係，係哥哋啊！
講嘢啦，真係。而家諗住自己有食到另一個地方嘅欠獎。
我冇啊，有執翻。不過我只能夠講，表達交換真係好厲害啦。我覺得呢一個佢專撚水啊！你哋兩個喺廁所出嚟，跟住討論埋啲咁嘅嘢，好似唔係好錯啦。有個超級大神仔。露出咗，小心啲打，小心啲打，唔好打嗰個。加油啦！
我嘅。
大事啊！你幫我打波啊！咁我哋可以樹木咯。一門嘅。喂啊！你講啲咁嘅嘢。我而家頂唔住啦！呢個等價交換。我贏主
佢哋喺度係咁壓榨我咯，你知咩事啊？
榨汁機。
真係有啲逼佢。
梗係啦，佢哋就係咁樣啦，敲，係啊，好咩敲啊，好咩敲啊咁樣。
手皮咧，你抄我哋啦，
我哋咩啊？我同朋友打牌，我話呢度得翻100，我希望大家就做收費先得。打咗好多人啦，我打大個都要佢哋啦。仲有冇嘢？
即係我身唔喐，我望唔諗理佢啦。
喂，講嘢。大哥，落機大概。唔係啊，我而家有啲火機啊，大哥。你話錯太多啊！
多啊！
我本身入場嗰陣係800蚊嘅。
幾嚿啊？
係啊，我應該係寧願呢個 iPhone 係
應該有。
唔係我應該0.0
我有
佢真係勝喎！係啊，下個週要同我哋打。啲人睇會嚟舐我哋啊嘢！我係食個蛋卷啊！我問係幾時做咗你哋人工極啊？你做咩做咗佢哋人工極啊？
知啊！
個個都想 jam
好啊。
就1分鐘遊翻。通常呢個 Gen G 贏。有 tips 大家。
有 tips。
有 tips。
打多幾場。
得唔得㗎？得㗎得㗎得㗎，我話3比2啊，一定要得啊！呢啲一定要。係佢2嚟都係3比0。係，你係咪都要佢贏啊？好啦，食佢啦，能夠咁睇啦㗎，咁樣跟住挑一贏。我希望我兩邊都財失啊！或者輸錢咩？呢個輸100嘅，邊個打翻嚟？差唔多200。
邊個贏啊？
冇，我哋3家都輸嘅。Cody 啊，你打翻4個人，係咯，啱啱先至邊個贏咯？係咯 ，Cody 啊。因為我入場係負8，有啲人我今日即係贏不上啊！
Welcome back. We got to mess around with the new physical card game, Ripbound, coming out soon before the cast. You can see Venice is playing a little PvP here. Venice was caught off guard, I think, a little by how much damage Azael's cards did, but we had the counterspell. Yasuo's looking cheap, we'll just say that much. Hey, win wall is win wall, in-game or out-of-game. But ladies and gentlemen, there's only one game on all our minds right now, and it's Game 2 coming up between our two finalists, Gen G and T1, here at the MSI 2025 Grand Finals. Game number 1 was a slow burn at the beginning, but then T1's superior team fighting reigned supreme and earned them the win.
We were skeptical of T1's comp going in, both Azael and I agreed that we favoured what Gen G brought to the table, but when it came to the straight-up team fights, T1 simply executed better, and they were able to outperform Gen G, who I do think need to slow the game down a little bit in terms of how they approach these fights.
Absolutely agree. I mean, draft is so interesting because, to me, draft is kind of like a force multiplier, right? It can build you an advantage, but it cannot win you the game. And that is why it is so fun to watch these teams at the absolute pinnacle of the game execute on these compositions, because sometimes it doesn't go how you expect simply because someone performs at a level that you didn't anticipate or is able to think of a different way to play that you would not have considered. And I think that really is what makes it such a beautiful game to watch.
certainly is, and I'm curious as to how these teams will adapt moving into Game 2. In Game 1, we saw the Nico, Azia, Victor bands come through from Gen G to try and put some pressure onto Faker, thinking that they could get themselves the Talia, potentially get themselves the Varus, and the man just brings out his triangle Orion.
That Orion just doesn't fail. The shockwaves finding opportunities again and again. We remember back to the first Drake fight when they tried to use Chovy's Weaver's Wall to secure the objective, and Faker instead starts off the fight with a catch on the 2. We remember the bot lane fight where Faker's at 10% HP, but he still has Shockwave, so he sticks around to guarantee that T1 can win it. The focus on mid lane did not do the job in the draft in Game 1 for Gen G, but it is fearless. The whole tournament's fearless. Those pools will naturally shrink over time, and getting to see the adaptations has been one of the most fun things about this tournament, if you ask me. Gen G back on the blue side, T1 back on the red. The Nico gets banned away again by Gen G, but this time they're going to be on the Rumble with it. Over on the T1 side, 2 of the same bans that they banned in the first phase in Game 1, the Pantheon and the Varus, they're going to stay there. The only one missing is the Vine.
Yeah, the pocket trade is kind of prime real estate right now, with the game gone. Do you necessarily want to prioritize the Vine build and then that pocket is open? We know we've seen Galio be very valuable, mainly enhancing to the Rumble. So now the Rumble's gone, do you consider taking the Galio away in this series in game so that you can potentially increase the value of the Rumble later on in the series?
Really interesting. You're going to be the final ban here. We have to see how high is the buy that are going to get in this series. Are they willing to actually lock it in? Instead, it's going to be Rise, and I do prefer. We've seen a lot of Rise versus RE5, and I really do kind of prefer the Rise side of it simply because you naturally become so tanky with the build that we're seeing that it is very difficult in the early season game, even with the good engage sometimes to work down these rises because we're just seeing lower RP. So your time before you have to get you really have to be able to push the base to your
Đó, để thằng gái rồi đi bỏ thầu đi.
I also get to Wukong from being becoming series.
So it could be mid court. They kept that flex potential open until very late in that draft, and then they did lock in. It was a Zion pairing with it for Guma to then reveal that it was going mid lane. So this absolutely could be a mid lane Corki here for Baker. Was very effective on it yesterday. Is going to be fine.
But you can see the stats came up on the screen. 6 wins, 10 losses here so far at MSI. Very popular pick, but not necessarily a high win rate.
High win rate, but you know what? Can't leave the win rate is on this split, 100%.
Okay.
So you can say
fair enough. Fair play,
We haven't seen many carry passes into things like Sun. Normally you see some sort of tanky response. We could potentially see something. We're seeing a Galio locked in. I assume that this is going into the mid lane.
It could also be potential support, but I do think it is really lucky that it's going to be in this mid lane. Sometimes you can see Galio does do a decent amount of damage in the area. I've seen pairings like that Corki Galio down in the bot lane, but we are kind of operating on the assumption that this would be a Galio in the mid lane and Corki for Guma.
I think Galio Wukong is also a very nasty combination. Wukong goes in, first knockup from Cyclone, second knockup is Heroic Entrance, third knockup is Cyclone 2. You're just getting juggled around with very little chance to respond. Very powerful combo in the scraps, as we do see double AD carry bans from T1 in the second half. The Kaisa and Xayah banned away. Gen G are getting rid of one of those potential carry top laner that could be players to decide on. They don't want to see Doran's invest.
因為三
Most
張
of these
台
fans here for
最
Q1
worst 就
so
係
obviously has a hero.
咁樣出4個人平均3位嗰4張
Now, we are looking for something that is defensively actually Senna, Jin obviously is already
係咯，即係佢哋嗰4個平均分配嗰個啊嘛，係啊，抽住先啦，可以。喂，
And again, even more there is a lot of flexibility here with the team draft that is keeping things very spicy, honestly.
It's always the question of, are they cooked so hard, this insane brain, and like they've completely outdrafted, or have they cooked a little too much? Because the question is ultimately these questions specifically, I guess you could argue that by prioritizing these other players, T1 have opened themselves up to get a counter. Genji just rounding things out with a
佢係企到勁好，練咁好嘅，真係20分鐘打交。係啊係啊。
They've got good CC, good front to back.
齋機咯，肯定係嘈咯。
Good front to back does help with the dive. You're sending in that fire because Dials into the back.
已經攞得啦，翻返嚟打佢咯
From playoffs here, using the MSI qualifiers on the way. With
而家係咩玩法？邊度係咩台？
was really sick. The way people
數萬番，哇！好緊湊啊！嗱，慢都有佢話而家細。
But I feel like this top for Gen G is
Very sorry. 真係睇比賽好吸引喎。
Go for is that just like
一定係啦，咩啊？我啱啱偷食咗。
Galio Camille having this combo has been around for so long in the league now. It gives you so many issue was about so
is standing by for an interview with Belter and Warlock.
阿邊個食咗啊？我一定要勇地索。
I'm freaking excited.
聽到嘅。抽索字我定抽索字。咩係咁嘅情況？咁樣即係就抽啊！嗱，同上萬翻斬仲有，我要索啊！冇翻啊！索你佢都撳電話。停啊！呢度嘅啦喎。咁啊，真係收到啦！我哋抽完一隻。嚟啊！快！索開明啊！而家都冇。翻。 又係 Robin， 又係番子。同索慢係最危高啊！屌，慢好啦，慢叫糊，但係我想睇啊！慢你附近嘅佢有啲新嘅面。
On this champion, and we will see here against Gen G.
strength and weaknesses of both sides. Ultimately, the teams of this caliber is going to come out with execution.
It actually is, and it's always something really funny to me when I would do interviews with coaches and talk to both coaches. And both of them are like, yeah, we absolutely see the picks coming. It's embarrassing. That's terrible. And so even at the highest level, people have such divergent opinions on is it scaling, is it side laning, should you be playing for engage, should you be playing for your champions that have early dominance, and so it does make it so interesting, and it makes everything so difficult for these coaches where I feel like they've been able to shine more than ever because of Fearless. Complexity has been ramped up in the draft so much.
我想打麻喺比賽啊！我慢慢練裝啊，唔該，慢慢嚟。
We're a very long ways away from that. But Sion, so far in the side, it does feel like few teams have found effective answers into the champion. He feels so stalwart in his matchup. He feels so safe, just the way that he passively generates HP and becomes this immovable force. Going already feeling that pressure on the line.
又冧裝啊！咪索子可以打咯，但係索子齊嗰啲唔打到好有見嘅。嗱，你要諗下啦，索子嗰啲先係最誇張。
This is T1 versus Gen G this year.
索子啊，開波！我想打呢張可以啊，我邊係有你位置啊！冇急啊，大家！佢成日拎啦，都係嚟嘅，好中意食嘢，但係佢冇開過打。你拎啊！我食咗你拎咯，我嚟啊嘛！你想改？嚟啊嘛！啱啱做嗰件遊戲。係啊，冇啦嗰個。Come on, yeah, they do it. They do it on the side. We walk along, yeah. We walk along.
As soon as you have the money to buy that item and start swapping immediately, and oftentimes the swaps favor the team who swaps first. You end up earning yourself a double advantage with that choice.
They're pretty quick. They go for
我唔知啊，我就係認真討論，因為我而家少玩，
easily your Q has the slow.
知道
You can get it for that
好似 Nocturne 同埋逆明嗰兩招
So much of the power here of Sin, especially with these modern builds where people are going Shiv rapid fire, you need the AD from Souls to actually have any sort of a punch behind your autos.
Immediately they don't. Carrier ready to keep on scrapping here, but Duro and Ruler do a good job. Similarly to game one, though, we're seeing the same type of farm difference between the top laners. Keen out to an early lead in terms of his control of the minion waves. Every time the observers have put the camera over those two, we can see him landing the decimating smash charged up and up for the bottom. Heal you! Carries the next target. Another shot goes through him. He shouldn't be long enough to die, but he is long enough that he has to flash away. Gen G 2v2. Rula and Duro. That hook, I mean, that felt illegal. I'm not going to lie. Weaving between Carrier and Teammates onto Gumayusi, and they force them back. Trade of flashes between the two AD carries could open up the junglers to set their sights on the bottom lane matchup, but it's T1 to initiate the swap once again as Duro actually TP'd towards the river. Gen G starting off the drag.
Duro TP'd down, Carrier did as well, so both those supports getting down there. Duro just trying to cover, make sure the Canadian cannot be contested, and he cannot. And I've got to point out, Ruler stacking very quickly here. 24 stacks here he already had. By the time he based around 6 minutes, 33 is the average by 14. He is going very, very quickly. We're not even halfway to that point, and he is stacking up at a ridiculous clip.
Yeah, that could be a big problem when you look at the fact that T1's composition is 4 melee characters. If Senna's range becomes the entire screen, very difficult to deal with her at all.
And this is one of the problems, Senna. I love playing this champion. When you play a melee champion that can't hard engage on the Senna, it is just free stacking. Champions like Braum, champions like Tom Kench, champions like Poppy, who can't just threaten 100 to 0 like with a Nautilus hook or a Blitzcrank hook. You just step forward every time they go for a Thunderous charge, you're just going to be able to actually get a stack each and every time. And it really does allow you to accelerate. So Keria has just been kind of free stacks thus far for Ruler.
I will say that hasn't stopped Keria from constantly forcing these fights, but I think you're right in that it's only really benefited Ruler as this bot lane from Gen G has continued to come out ahead. Right now, it is Gen G that have that small gold advantage with the dragon secured. 20 seconds until the group spawn. To imagine that Gen G will look for it.
Immediately though.
Underestimated. Knew the Summoners were dead. The angle was just not there.
冇計啦，都係啲點啊，我一定追啊！
Later to it, already falling. Ruler goes trying to get her on that top side.
就係唔好黐罪。師傅，屌你班架車含撚啦！又係1比2，跟住劇本走。大家定啦。半年點解你係冠軍？想幫我走先係啊！
Didn't have his flash from the earlier skirmish between the two of them. The way in which T1 collapsed on that kill, they did it with ruthless efficiency.
I mean, that was just so clean, honestly. They see Keen solo kill on the bot side, not to be outdone. He must be in trouble.
The Dawning Shadow doesn't hit him, so critically not low enough towards that 0 HP mark.
Yeah, Faker even able to donate that over to Owner, who now passes Mako with 1,110 internationally for fifth all time. He won. Also, did you even grab that last double to one? They're not very straightforward.
With the game sense to be in that tribush to begin with. To initiate on the Ruler. When his first level was down to and that feat of war. 2 out of 3 of them at least. He does pick up the last.
These small things. Forever is time. It's not going to be an issue. Of course, eventually he will be breaking it with that Bomby Cinder, but at least giving him a full wave of experience and gold from Doran.
Extras right now. It's Guma, who's had a lot of pressure thrown towards him. Dying in the 1v1 definitely doesn't help. But really, he's not adding gold for now. He does have a farm advantage over Ruler. I think T1 getting that kill back onto the center was very important. But as we were keeping track of the stacks earlier, he's already at 36, just short of 11 minutes in. And I mean, Ruler is by far and away ahead of pace.
Way ahead of pace. I mean, the average stats at 14 is 33.7 here at MSI, so of course he is already a couple above that with 3 minutes to spare to meet that clip. And generally speaking, the faster you stack, the faster you continue to stack, because every 20 stacks the range goes up. It's easier and easier and easier to hit and collect those souls, and Ruler is doing an incredible job at that so far. And Chobi could be able to get up to those side lanes now. Of course, working in towards the roll and the
But Dylan's attacking it. So that'll be a solid 2-0 now. Keen set to be a big on
the cross map though, it will equalize the dragon. Chobi tries to push up the bot lane before Baby can respond, so he's going to be safe on the weak side.
我就一睇個決賽。
The goal lead for Gen G.
喂，冷靜，佢哋打就唔係你哋打。
You know, it is going to be very difficult to actually fight past Keen. To ignore him in these fights to try to get in towards the center, in towards the rise, which could be the job.
And the current game state for his first tank item fully complete, which is very expensive. It's so not to try to make Neil just with Trinity pieces into the Sunfire Eagles. That individual gold lead for Keen is almost up to 1,000. And you can see Doran tries to kick him. He does more damage to himself. Kazuyama away as now this could be a nice catch. Duro's planning to foul by Carrion. Force to get away there, trying to not give away too much HP with T1 ambush.
Losing both sides of the battle is gonna make committed to the fighter who's hovering around. It looks like Faker is not expecting
哇！呢隻癲
Let's
啊！
see if the Galileo can get away.
呢隻。
Just use the top to make a little bit of space. He barely takes any damage at all. Now Carrion all ready to show up. There's no counter punch available though. Shogi and Canyon can make enough distance. They got Duro coming up behind him. Neither side gets a whole lot of anything. As we look back over the top lane, and it's the same story one more time. Keen has control over the 1v1 matchup.
Keen is just looking so strong right now. Doran just trying to get enough gold for Triforce before he bases.
多能好似有少少。
He's getting so low.
啲幼稚園遇到個中年肥佬，打極都係零傷害。
He's so careful. He needs to believe he's going to
Walking forward, running in before he continues to more aggressively. You can
Check out the review.
walking up to this seconds. Is altered up his cover in the top river. This is very important to try to control. If you know that Harold fight is upcoming, Faker now trying to do a few times, mostly armor. As Carrion getting getting reached up Doma. Fires back to the as Vinny continues to escape.
打死你，打死你！轉嚟，轉嚟，小小行動啊！小小行啊！而家嗰個積運係有少少
Get themselves the kill onto Canyon. Kuma was forced to flash very early because of his positioning.
係快嘅喎，要幫一陣之前3-2嘅，點解拖第5啊？係咯，玩到鏡快㗎嘛，點解考第2場啲人啲飛
You deny the objective from T1, but it almost guarantees you the first tower as well. The top lane tower is already a little bit low, so with the bot lane one, Keen is this could be the strength going away with Gen G. We'll see if they can actually bring it to the first tower plus.
定仔成啦，食啲嘢鳩撞㗎。
They definitely have the edge for the first tower.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what makes this so fun. T1 is on the great field of warfare.
你中咗啦！
Which means his next
咪成仔揸都係正常，你滑手都揸開單啫。
Also, Faker, we haven't talked about the fact he is still AP, so he is going to be building with so far. He already has the Lee injuries. Going to be likely building into his own exactly what I would expect here. Just to be able to go in for those aggressive plays, flash on the top line, have that stasis to stay safe. Because they need to be able to pressure Ruler until they start to
係啊，浪費呢個席位佢哋。
These side lanes were a little bit more favorable to T1.
係啦。
It's T1 with fantastic vision coverage right outside of the map.
多數咧，新最
Great controls there as Kenny
就會做到
Shadow Children looking for Doran trying to
nobody else in range to back it up.
現
But
場
there's still a lot of support.
所有識到都有真啊！
All
教翻中間啲啦，
the
咁
Drake,
樣
they pulled it out. Owner taking care of it. It's just gonna get dove on it. Canyon made his And Gen G get the job done before the Drake can be claimed. That means Gen G now automatically take control of the river. T1 is forced to retreat.
T1 win the fight in mid lane, but Gen G finally T1 have priority over the ball, but Gen G find a pick onto Dorn. Their game plan is very much to punish this Camille at every opportunity, and it is working. They have so close to getting first hire of the game.
I just think it's so intelligent. Dr. Camille is such a core piece of this competition. It's not just about 1v1 or anything like that. A lot of their success depends upon Doran being stronger than flying in the back line here with Owner and Faker's all over the top field and knocking down these carries. And they're putting Doran in a spot where he's constantly on the back foot. Gen G gonna be able to take this tower and have to take no problem. They're gonna have to use the Herald to do it. And that is fantastic. That is going to keep the strength there for Gen G. So the upgrade boost, they have the side lane advantage here for Chovy, and they are looking really strong.
Remember what I said last year, feats of strength with immobile carries just feels that much better. When you look at Senna, when you look at Knives, they're both just running. And now Gen G can get even faster. 1,500 number 1 seed. Step into a He might be really hard to kill, but he's not a very effective grabber at this point in the game. 887. But they got a little bit too excited, went a little bit too aggressive the early part of the fight, was fantastic for them. As Doran goes it up to him, he got shut down incredibly low from the focus ladder, and Ruler is just kiting it out on the long side, with the carries on right here.
Gen G, I was thinking this was going to be a slow fight, but it was going to be theirs.
And Darius Poppy knocking Keen
下衝擊哦，天啊，諗住入去佢入唔撚到啊！屌，係啊，企喺呢身邊入唔撚到啊，喺歐監嗰度咁做。
So Toby thought he was going in with the Scion. He shows up by himself, gets pushed down, then Guma flashes on the ruler, knocks him down. Jordan was after there, but pretty different. And the biggest takeaway from this fight is Keen is the raid boss in this game. He will need to find a way to get through. You can see the Corky damage. I want to guesstimate that about half of that went into Keen.
He did about as much damage as the two highest on Gen G. Looking to go ahead and give the dredge line. There's no follow-up there.
佢係遲少啊，你行過師大啊！唔係 OK 㗎，而家大家睇到。
Gumayusi as Faker is running to
He's
got backup nearby, but Gen G are on the hunt. Can they find anything else? Will they overextend? No. They're going straight after the Otacon instead. Doran, Ono, and Carrier all nearby. Faker still with a grand entrance to try to join up if he wants to, but it's all five from Gen G here with the objective.
Don't have Gumayusi.
He wanted to keep his verdict to try to make it a fair fight, to try to give T1 a chance, but they won't get it. A nice flash to dodge that potential ulti as now Doran gets found out. He doesn't hit him with an estimating smash. Duro's still walking over, giving the olive. The ulti's not available, but Vibe is! The dredge line to follow. Doran's gonna hashtag ultimatum, but the only ultimatum is you're getting out of here. Gen G, 13 kills.
It all starts with Chovy finding a TP flank behind Gumayusi to find the AD carry isolated and convert it into a pit. When they knew they had the numbers advantage, they forced T1's hand and started off the Otacon. Great map play, great pick from Chovy. Gen G firmly in the lead here in game 2.
I mean, they're just looking so strong with Doran. The focus on him is going so far behind. It doesn't feel like they have a true second threat. It's pretty much Guma versus the world. Like, his damage is the only one that seems like it's doing anything to Keen right now. Faker, of course, is building AP. He has the Refmaker as that second item. Oilers on 2 items as well. But it's just not going enough to ever fight Keen.
I mean, we've been talking about Keen as the main boss this whole game, and certainly how he's been playing. The individual goal lead in the game, Chovy is nearly 3. He has 4 kills, 6 assists, plus 60 farm. He's got his Seeker's arm guard, and both of them.
佢哋都咁打，即係真係參照進步咯，都係。我都識三同啊，我摸咗隻三同牌啊。係啊。
King just choo-choo straight into Ona. There was no way for him to escape. And with the jungler gone, this becomes a very challenging steal.
Okay. Carrier hasn't had that right now. Look at the scoreboard. The Baron's down to 2,000. He's backing away from it.
都話爭好撚遠啊！冇啊，呢個執到就有權，執唔到就呢個。我完全抽唔到呢個。
But then, T1 just decided to go in, carry a flash thing, they send it to try to burst it down. It is smoked down for about 1100 HP. This was not the upgraded smite for Carrier, so it had to be lower. I do believe it upgrades based on how many times you swap to it with the spellbook. And I think that was his first smite. Now he's on it again here, so this would be an upgraded one. And the really need to not steal this grind away because it is Ocean Soul as soon as you get it. T1 obviously already up against it, but if you get Ocean Soul to sign this far ahead, you're never going to.
I mean, look at how tanky this competition is. Nautilus, Five, Pride, Scion. You got a little Ocean Soul twice in there. You've got yourself meatballs. So there's no way that T1 will be able to punch through it. They have to realize that. It's 25 seconds until the Drake spawns, but the bottom side river is totally controlled by Gen G.
Pressure on there. They know that this game is theirs. T1 getting a little creative. Zona creates a flank. He's trying to avoid the vision, staying in the darkness.
The question is, spotted. You know, if you don't find Ruler, can you even hurt anyone, right? Like there's stasis and everything. Owner's finally gonna be spotted now. Choky's not afraid at all.
Yeah, Owner did a great job. For a little bit, but once the clone can't save you, Chobi. Chobi dead for 45, and the dragon's alive. Ocean Soul for Gen G.
An easy pick for Gen G. Slippery play from Owner. But it's the MasterCard priceless moment. Dragon Soul secured, Keen with the dive.
Immediately engages on Doran, and Chobi's ready to follow. Doran is safe to rule. And Chobi is the warden. Gen G keeping the push going. Owner still dead for another 15. Doran dead for more than 30 seconds. Gen G making it for the 10,000 gold lead for the Dragon Soul. They've got their sights set on the Nexus itself. Gen G continue Shadow reinforces Gen G in this part. The first Nexus still stands as Guma tries to get some damage back, but Keen is simply too tanky. T1 finally have their jungler back alive, and with Doran about to respawn, they're thinking about trying to find something here on Gen G, but they're so strong, they're so tanky, they've got so much regen, but T1 still thinks they've got to try something here. Doran goes in, he wants to go over the wall and find Chobi. He does, but Keen prevents any backup from arriving. They have an entrance, but it's only for his own exit. Doran is already down. Take him out the spot, and Keen is not even dented. Still David, come on.
佢呢個電話好型喎，電子收線喎，電子收線喎，佢呢個電話，呢個保持咗走機跟住變咗咁樣的成有撚病啊！
Exceptional protection at T1.
保持中環。
Nexus turrets are just a formality at this point. Gen G with the tanky call strikes back.
Who's absolute numbers there for Gen G in game 2 of the League champions are undefeated. It was perfection from Ruler here on the side.
係啊，緊湊，開心啦！大家仲有3場睇而家，仲有3場，好抵3場，唔係啊，係啊，好。做冇人嚟嘅喎，我開心喺度投降喎，應該係大嶺喎，J 哥原來你個所謂叫 J 哥啦，睇落街喎 ，J 哥啊，好流手啊，可以，
I actually thought even with the scaling content, it was a risky comp to come off with what T1 has. I think it came down to a lot of the laning 2v2. Like even after there was that point where Sun and Nautilus was able to blow both flashes on top side.
我一定輸啦！
唔係啊，我話你加速做得好啊！我理得你係咪打得你咯？我要加速，因為而家我比賽完咗，我需要張台啊，我要張台啊！而家你要吹你啦！ 嚟玩9蚊，又可以加速又快做得啊！加工，嗱你哋3個啊，3個俾心機。呢張台係咩啊？我講呢個仆街有機會見到第2次啊！打咗3隻分之後，佢就喺度慢慢喺度摸完之後，咁佢好鳩彈咁喺度打。嗰條做得係咁，嗰條係咁，冇啊冇啊，佢就勁幽默。嗰條都終於收皮啦！有一底，你點解啱開始啊？成日俾曬其他人，你留翻啲俾我，呢個人一底過啦。哇！咁高啊！打時一鋪，嗰邊係大嚟㗎。喂，靠時間，屌你兩味！你係冇天冇喺你得地冇㗎。佢話你有少少想買蚊先，咩下啲嗌咩天冇啫？真係死我！大兩爆啊！李師傅。加油！我之前受害者希望一陣再嚟過嚟見到佢哋。
A big part of the Gen G goal lead early on.
Dennis.
Thank you there for soaking up so much for T1, allowing them to get money onto their carries that they needed in the chase down. Even though he died, so much value there.
嗰啲係食有一半，嗰個咧你擺冰箱嚟溶緊嘅，經常你哋有一半包劈咗喺度，係咯？塞到啦又收到呢啲咧。咁我而家再飲多杯。有乜箱係佢要乜箱？唔係，我要你哋買翻1 pack 翻嚟。咁我就唔使半杯頭頭。啱啱一見到完咗比賽又應該拉進度丁喎。
I still think they'll win, but
Yeah, you're definitely a believer. You mentioned the
我唔食喎，好風嚟。
you subscribe to that narrative or not, you feel that in the game as Gen G is
我試過睇勁㗎。
a couple of fights, right?
即係
Like
你
the
望
one
到
where
你
you
我望到你啦。
No.
唔係啊，嗰啲一定係咩啊？試你係勁㗎，望到入邊頭先係。
Thinking back to the early on, Ontario was camping on the Faker to come in with the Galio ult, and you started to think, oh, maybe there some of this T1 that you team play is actually going to pull out, but Gen G closed it up very nicely, and wanted to point out that big rise damage on kills. Chovy really count.
He did.
喂，各位呢位俾埋請你係你隨身行李。
Wins for T1 and they picked blue going into game 3. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be right
高
back.
速計翻天啊！高速飛有冇人叮？有冇人叮？唔係咪就佢哋兩個咯？兩銅兩花咯，但係我哋萬支齊得㗎，但係我哋要呢張啫嘛。我哋成個係唔得咩啊？係冇上間啦，師兄，哇！喺你呢個腰章，哇！唔好意思啊，太勁啦屌！隨便贏，隨便贏，加油，隨便贏。嗰邊咧，如果我哋有 OK 嘅。我幫你計喎，你拎咗有。
加油，Tony 啊！我支持你啊！
隨便戒到㗎咯喎，點打？
你強嘅咁大喎！
我喺係冇自己出過抽啦，我10字波喎，連收波幾多大佬啊？係我知啦，我只能夠講28，都仲係就住我哋嚟打喎。計埋嗰隻先。OK。80加1，埋先，100。好撚大啊！ 大三方係幾多？大三方快非常唔準講啫嘛。大三方係咪對對？
一個、兩個、三個，三鴨對碰。
有乜所謂啫？兩筆兩筆，
一共一百，一共。跟住30，跟住兩鴨3鴨，跟住一個角，一個花，對碰一魔，上眼，跟住兩個男，兩個北，一個東。係啊，
呢度嘅比賽仲要係冇手報啊！
咁，哇！
係純粹中意一波帶走啊！真係啊！一波帶走。285咯，275即係11蚊，11蚊，285咯。4蚊加3咪11蚊咯。係啊，又揾我。
走啊！你哋走啦。
做咩嘅？唔係啊，同
水搬埋啊！
你哋同子班子啊，喂，你哋4個出嚟啊！呢度啊，呢度4隻。
喂，當你走一定要同啦。
你係，我都一定要同我。係啊，你哋係同子班子啊。
係啊，同子班子出。
快。
同子班子上邊同。
係啊，你一定同我哋打。同子。咩同子啊？
翻去
打撚死我啦！叫你。打過啦，你唔好嗌嘢啦嘛，我同佢打過啦。係做得好啊！我係同子嘅假姐嚟。咩啊？講咩？你同方文打？我咁啱文打死 Grossman 喎，又唔好咁啦，係咪先？我傾緊係嗱，我咩好爆嘅，打死你啊！我對啦 Jenna，我有個人過嚟話我叫人打死你。我同子啊！我呢度啊嘛，你唔過嚟啊？喂，係啊，我喺度坐啊，你散紙。
唔係，呢個係阿 Fina 嘅，跟住呢個你，呢個係呢個。哦。
What the best 啊！爽啊呢個位！咁你幫佢擺啦佢。
都係呢度啊？
係啊，都係咁。哇！
我都 best。
邊個位啊？
超撚正啊！喺度睇嘅，咩你可以